Ohio school funding is complex, and hopefully you sense that at 5 while hearing a top state House representative describe his frustration with it. When the latest round of funding was announced, it triggered more emotions from the schools who disagreed with the governor's approach. One superintendent drilled deep into the numbers to solve a big problem he was seeing. When Governor Kasich released the details on his 2-year budget plan, he suggested that schools losing funding use their cash reserves. I dug into the budget plan and found that situation applied to 18 school districts around the valley. Matthews and Lordstown were tops on the list, losing more than 2% of funding, while 13 districts had over $1 million in cash reserves when the school year started. That included Poland, United, and Canfield, with the highest totals because they're collecting money from a levy and it carries over to use down the road. But for those districts with little reserve, a funding drop brought worry.
I don't want to go down to Columbus and say, my school is losing money, I want to complain. I want to find out why they're losing money, what the trend is, and give a reason why.
It was because the governor's office believes some districts had a higher capacity to pay more of their expenses. All districts follow a recommendation to keep a 2 to 3 month supply of cash in reserve in order to pay expenses. Being forced to use it can deplete that fund pretty quick and lead to cutting important programs. The districts were left scratching their heads about using the reserves and started sending complaints to the governor.
The story that you have is wrong because you're telling us on paper that the richest district is Jackson Milton and 44% of the kids are on free and reduced lunch out there. So they're just looking at it on paper.
While making more calls on this, I found that Latonia Superintendent Robert Mino had looked at the data before as 10 levies failed in the district and made every cut possible. When Governor Kasich's budget came out this time, the numbers jumped off the page to him and showed him 2 trends. The funding increase per pupil for smaller schools was just $38.32 compared to $621 for the bigger schools. And more smaller schools were losing money.
In the first year of the budget, 71% of the rural schools, 230 schools, would be losing money. And of all the other categories, 30% of those are losing money.
Superintendent Mino sent letters to the administration. He even got help from State Representative Tim Ginter to testify before a House Education Subcommittee where he presented his data. They listened and made significant changes.
This budget seems to be more evenly distributing the funds among the school districts than the prior budget. And at this point, no school district will lose funding under this current budget, which is good news for all school districts.
Now, the Ohio House version of the budget included $950 million for education, which was a $270 million increase over the governor's proposal. The state Senate started putting together its plan this week, and State Senator Joe Schiavone told me the House version has a lot of good points. I'll keep following the budget process and let you know if Superintendent Mino's change gets included in the final version approved by the governor.